All right. So welcome again. Here, let me try this again. All right, try again. Oh no, now my jump over fences. Something happened, dude. My mods. Now it's not working because they said jump over fences is wrecking it. So let me find jump over fences and get rid of it for the moment. Jump over fences. All right, Mr. Jump Over Fences, you're gonna sit out for a while. Okay, let's try this again. Yet again, I'm trying. My computer crashed. I was telling you, oh yeah, I overclocked it by 50 megahertz, and that killed it. That my computer like died right away as soon as I jumped into Minecraft. So let's try this again. Oh look, I'm here, but I have no shaders today. What happened to my shaders? Beta 18. Okay, there we go. Yeah. Actually, dude, I was on beta this one, the beta 2, because it makes the shadows better in the daytime. Yes, yes, so much nicer. And I have a shadow. See, check it out. So yeah, welcome to my next episode of Minecraft Red Stone Lapis Lazuli. Apologies for the crash. I tried to overclock my processor by 50 megahertz. Wouldn't take it. The temperatures weren't out of control. I think the motherboard just doesn't like the extra energy I'm using. So I'm wondering if I should work on that, if I could figure out what setting is causing my computer to crash so I can raise the limit slightly so I can overclock. But yeah, here I am. It's not dying. It's not dying. All right, it's not dying yet. Welcome to my show. Let me switch back to rethinking that one to the beta 18D. And then my frames per second aren't that great. I wonder why. Video settings. Yeah, I've got I hate to go to 16 chunks, but it looks like I kind of have to in order to maintain over 70 frames per second while OBS is running. All right. All right. I think we're in. I think it's not going to die now. Okay, so yeah, let's check out this house. This house that looks ugly right now because got the wrong shaders. But put on these shaders, looks nice. Ooh, pretty bamboo house, right? Pretty bamboo house. Ooh, the lamps work today. Ooh. And what is that up there? What? So you got your upstairs here. Ooh, pretty. The torches aren't working. So only the outdoor lighting works for this beta. But I'm gonna switch to this one. Yes, welcome to my show. Every week, I've been doing this for like 5 years. Why would I be doing this show for 5 years? Well, because the United States is facing an existential crisis. There are forces within the United States that want to overthrow American democracy and replace it with an ethno state. That's been the deal with the United States ever since its inception. Ever since the United States was created, it was forced to ally with slavers who did not believe in democracy for everyone. They only wanted to keep the power for themselves. So really, they weren't much different than the oligarchs that they left in Europe. Because they're the same thing. They just wanted to maintain power in the hands of a very few and keep it for themselves. So the United States, ever since the beginning of the United States, has had to deal with a section of its inside of itself that wants to overthrow the whole American project and replace it with the same thing that was left behind in Europe. And that hasn't changed. But before we go very much farther up out of the gate and go astray, again, ceasefire in Palestine. The United States is not being a good partner by standing aside as Israel commits genocide. In fact, the United States is complicit in the genocide of the Palestinian people who are innocent. The Palestinian people are innocent, and I know it's not just terrorists who are getting killed. It's regular ass people. Look at this. So this is Wael al-Dadu. He's a journalist for Al Jazeera, and he's lost 3 children, 3 kids, and his wife. He works for Al Jazeera. He's a journalist. His 3 kids and his wife were all killed by Israel by Israeli airstrikes. Now Israel can try to make an argument that, oh yeah, that those kids and that wife was Hamas. They can try to make that argument, but we all know it's a lie. Israel kills journalists all the time because Israel, the state, doesn't want this information getting out that they're genocide, that Israel is committing a genocide. That's why Israel kills journalists, because they don't want the truth to get out, just like they killed journalists in Russia. In fact, Bibi Netanyahu and Vladimir Putin have a lot in common. Neither one of them believe very much in democracy. Both want to maintain an ethno state with their preferred ethnicity on top. Both. So Russia and Israel are not much different from one another. So I don't understand why the United States is supporting the genocide in Gaza perpetuated by Israel and supplied by the United States. I don't know why we're doing it. I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Only if you want to buy into settler colonialism. If you want to buy into settler colonialism and say that, oh yeah, these people, because they have more violence, they have a right to take this land from this other people and kill them. That's not right. We're supposed to leave that behind in the 19th century. What are you doing bringing it forward to the 21st century, USA? What are you doing supporting that? So that makes it hard, right? Biden is currently doing his campaigning, painting the enemy as Donald Trump, saying, oh, if you don't vote for me, you're going to get Donald Trump. But the thing about voting is that you're doing it because you believe that the person you're voting for is going to better represent you than the other person. However, if the person the person that is making this argument, Joe Biden, is committing a genocide, is doing a genocide against the wishes of the people, against the wishes of the world, against the wishes of the government, because he had to bypass Congress twice in order to supply Israel with tank rounds so they could blow up more Palestinians. So, like, the enemy for Joe Biden is not Donald Trump. I know he wants to make Donald Trump the enemy, and Donald Trump is an enemy, a real serious enemy, a very serious threat, of course. But the main antagonist for the Democratic Party is not the Republican Party. It's apathy. It's apathy. People have to believe that their vote matters, that their voice counts. If they don't believe it, then you have all sorts of problems. That's why Donald Trump is trying to convince his people that democracy is over. Because if he can demoralize his people, he can make them believe anything he wants. Well, when it comes to Joe Biden, he's trying to scare us with Donald Trump. But the thing is that he has to show us that our vote counts. Well, if we're all saying, look, we don't want to be a participant in genocide, and here we are 3 months later, still doing the genocide against the wishes of the American people, does our vote even matter? Should we even care? Why should we even bother if Joe Biden is just going to ignore our vote and commit genocide anyways? I know he was hoping that this would go away, but Bibi Netanyahu has no intention of stopping. He intends to ethnically cleanse Gaza, and then his own guy said they want to do a trail of tears, and they want to move all the Palestinians onto reservations in other countries. He just wants to push out all the Palestinians, take their land, and put them on reservations in other countries. That's what Israel wants. That's their plan. How come Joe Biden is supporting that plan? I thought the United States was gonna deal with this legacy of Native American genocide. This isn't how you deal with your legacy of Native American genocide, by perpetuating it in the current day against the Palestinian people. It's pretty shitty. It's pretty shitty. Why should I vote for Joe Biden? Do I want to be associated with genocide? I mean, vote for Joe Biden. Help commit genocide in the other side of the world. I don't know. I don't know if I want to be associated with genocide. A vote for Joe Biden is a vote for genocide. Now, a vote for Donald Trump is a vote for dictatorship. I'm not saying Donald Trump is any better. No way. I'm not saying Donald Trump is my friend at all. No way. That's a fallacy. The people who say the enemy of my enemy is my friend, they're wrong. They're incorrect. The enemy of my enemy is still my enemy. So I don't understand why Joe Biden is risking everything, literally everything, his entire presidency, on committing genocide. He must really hate the Palestinian people, Joe Biden. Like, why else would he risk his presidency? He's like, yeah, I'm facing down a challenger. I'm 80 years old, and it's real close. Oh, but I hate those Palestinian people. I gotta kill them first. Before I do anything else, I gotta kill the Palestinian people. Joe Biden? What are you doing, dude? You hate the Palestinian people that much that you're willing to risk your presidency to kill them? I mean, I'm pretty sure Donald Trump would also genocide the Palestinian people. I have no doubt about that. In fact, that the scheme to genocide the Palestinian people was probably thought up under Donald Trump's administration, under his regime. That's why Jared Kushner went to Israel to make deals with all the dictatorships there, because it was always the plan to genocide the Palestinian people. So I can understand if Donald Trump does it, because Donald Trump is a Nazi. But why would Joe Biden do it? Does he really hate the Palestinian people that much that he would risk his presidency just to eliminate them? Just to kill the Palestinian people? Why isn't it that way to the Russians? The Russian people are actually threatening the United States. Russians are actually threatening to pull the United States into a wider conflict. The Russians are actually attacking our allies. And Russia is an actual government with actual state. It's not just a ragtag organization of a bunch of criminals. It's an actual state with actual nukes. Why isn't Joe Biden so concerned about taking care of the Russians and instead wants to focus solely on genociding the Palestinians? I don't understand. No one can tell me what the deal is with Joe Biden. No one can really explain it. Other than, yeah, it's just, you know, the last chance for Europe to get a colony going, right? That's essentially what it is. Israel is the last gasp of colonial settlerism. The last chance for Europe to get a colony going. Which is like, you know, it's not right. There's no right to a colony. You don't have a right to have a colony. You don't have a right to genocide people to take their land. So that's a major issue facing Joe Biden. I think that's the main issue that he needs to focus on. And he's the only one responsible for it. It's not like he can point to Donald Trump and say, oh, Donald Trump is making me commit genocide in Gaza. No, Joe Biden, that's all on you. You can't make it go away. It's all on you. That genocide is all on you. My house, in the middle of the street, my house. All right, so we got Joe Biden doing that. What's funny is that both sides of the American electorate feel like they are losing. For some reason, Republicans and Democrats alike have become more likely to say that their side in politics has been losing. So this is a percentage of people who say that in politics, their side has been blank on the issue that mattered to them. Losing more often than winning. So among Democrats, ever since 2016, they feel like they've been losing more than they've been winning. Maybe a little bit. It came down at the end of 2022 when the red wave failed to materialize, but Democrats have been pretty pessimistic. Contrast that with Republicans. Republicans felt like they were losing when Donald Trump won, but as Donald Trump going to 2020, they felt that they were. They felt like they were winning. At the end of 2020, Republicans felt like they were winning. And then January 6th happened. And there was a shift. Once the Republicans failed their coup, they thought they were losing again because their coup failed. They thought they were going to win. They thought their coup was going to succeed. But then it failed. So then they went back to feeling losing. So yeah, January 6th was 3 years ago. 3 years ago, Donald Trump assembled a mob of Republicans to commit violence on Congress to try to hold on to power. There's no question to it, right? There's no question as to the nature of the insurrection. Clearly, Donald Trump was trying to hold on to power, even though he lost the election. He had already lost 60 court cases trying to prove voter fraud. So he couldn't prove voter fraud. So since he couldn't prove voter fraud, he tried to literally overthrow the government with violence. Let's look back to that time.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol because you'll never take back our country with weakness.
It all began before January 6th, 2021.
We can now project that former Vice President Joe Biden has been elected President of the United States.
As Joe Biden's victory became apparent, the GOP hatched a criminal plot to overturn the election results.
We were getting ready to win this election. Frankly, we did win this election.
The plan? Disrupt the certification process, claim fraud, submit fake electors, and appoint Donald Trump president against the will of the people.
There will be a smooth transition to a second Trump administration.
First, they flood the courts with frivolous lawsuits, hoping for a quid pro quo from Trump appointees.
The Dominion voting systems were created in Venezuela at the direction of Hugo Chavez.
That was all proven wrong, and now now Fox News has to pay millions of dollars for that lie.
They lose nearly all of the 62 cases they filed.
They lost 61 of 62 cases. The only case they won was in Pennsylvania. When a Pennsylvania judge ruled that voters had 3 days after the election to provide proper ID and cure their ballots. So Donald Trump tried in 61 court cases to prove there was voter fraud. He failed to prove voter fraud in 61 of 62 cases. The last case that he won only got a delay of 3 days so that people could prove who they were, and that's it. So Donald Trump attempted to prove voter fraud, but couldn't do it. Since he wasn't able to prove voter fraud, he had to escalate his coup.
An executive order is prepared for Donald Trump's signature to have the military seize all voting machines.
He could take.
So Donald Trump was fully committed to overthrowing the United States. He tried to once he lost the election, he tried to claim voter fraud, but he couldn't get any courts to agree with him. No court would agree with him that there was voter fraud. Then his people signed an executive order for the military to seize the voting machines. Because if you don't have the voting machines, then you can say whatever you want, right? You can claim whatever you want.
Military capabilities, and he could place them in those states and basically rerun an election in each of those states.
So he wanted to rerun the election to make sure that he won. Do you see what I mean? This is Mike Flynn. Mike Flynn's a traitor. Mike Flynn worked with foreign governments to overthrow the United States. He was caught lying to the FBI because they couldn't prove anything because he lied so much. They couldn't prove anything. So he convicted. He pled guilty twice. But then, to make sure that he didn't rat out Donald Trump pardoned him so he wouldn't have to go to prison. So this guy, Mike Flynn's a traitor. So he's explaining how he was going to overthrow the government in the United States. He was going to declare martial law and seize the voting machines. That way Donald Trump could maintain power. The whole idea of January 6th was to stop the transfer of power from Donald Trump to Joe Biden. Because Donald Trump and the fascists don't believe in democracy. They just want to hold on to power forever.
Law has been instituted 64 times.
Donald Trump instills lackeys in the Department of Defense and DOJ, like Kash Patel, Jeffrey Clark, and Chris Miller.
President Trump is purging the top ranks of the Pentagon after firing Defense Secretary Mark Esper, replacing officials with White House loyalists for this lame duck period of his presidency.
So the whole point, remember, why did he do that suddenly? After he lost the election, why did he fire all the top people in the Pentagon and replace them with lackeys? Because his plan was to overthrow the United States, and he didn't want the military getting in the way. In fact, he wanted the military to help the mob overthrow the Capitol. That was his plan, to get the military to overthrow the Capitol with the mob. That's why he fired everyone in the Pentagon and replaced them with loyalists.
Why are they being installed after Trump's defeat?
7 states forge electoral certificates and send them to the National Archives as fake electors attempt to break into state capitals.
7 states have chosen a slate of electors for both Joe Biden and President Trump.
In those states, there has been an alternate slate of electors voted upon.
So this alternate slate of electors is just a bunch of Trump loyalists who are trying to disrupt the certification of the election by saying that they are the real electors and that the ones chosen by the voters are the fake ones. So these Trump fake electors are saying that they are the real electors because Trump chose them. That anyone voting for Joe Biden is not a real elector. right? Because the plan was to overthrow the government.
Direct that the alternate slate of electors be certified.
We're fixing to overturn the results of the election in multiple states.
Attorney John Eastman drafts a legal blueprint detailing how Vice President Pence can evade the law and count these fake electors instead. The Department of Justice drafts letters to swing states, falsely claiming that there was election fraud in an attempt to throw the real results into question.
Clark reportedly drafted a letter to Georgia state legislators that incorrectly said DOJ was investigating accusations of voter fraud in the state and that
Remember, Jeffrey Clark was a Trump loyalist that Trump put into the Department of Justice so he would try to overthrow the government. What did Jeffrey Clark do? He wrote a letter to the states. He drafted a letter. I don't know if he sent it, but he drafted a letter to the states to say that there was voter fraud in those states. Remember, they already tried to prove voter fraud. They failed 61 of 62 times. They've actually failed all 62 times. They never proved voter fraud in the courts. Nevertheless, Jeffrey Clark, Trump loyalist, was going to claim that there was voter fraud anyways. He had no investigations going. He had no proof. He had no nothing. But remember, they don't need proof. All they need is an announcement so they can go forth and do their shit. Because they don't actually care. So that was the plan. Jeffrey Clark was installed by Donald Trump in order to throw doubt on the election by sending these letters to the states saying that they're being investigated.
Georgia officials should invalidate Biden's win.
I just want to find 11,780 votes.
And Republicans.
So that's Donald Trump's voice calling an election official in Georgia where Donald Trump lost by 11,000 votes. And Donald Trump said, "Oh, I lost by 11,000 votes. I need you to find me 11,000 plus 1 so I can win the election in Georgia." So, in other words, Donald Trump called the election official in Georgia and asked them to overthrow the democracy in Georgia. That the people voting in Georgia don't matter. Only Donald Trump matters. That's what he tried to do.
Republicans hit the airwaves to fire up their base and spread the big lie.
And if enough object, then those states' electors don't get counted in the final vote.
There are a number of states that have come into question here.
No, there wasn't, because we already went through the court case and zero voter fraud was found. This is all in furtherance of the coup that they were going to attempt on January 6th.
Process is complete. There'll be electors selected.
You can actually have alternate electors.
You throw out the certification and let the House decide.
There will be a lot of things happening between now and the 20th of January. A lot of things.
President Trump's presidency. His first term's ending with action, and his second term's going to start with a bang.
So everybody, all the Republicans, all the operatives knew what was going to happen. They all knew the plan on January 6th. They all knew the plan. It's not a mystery, right? It's not, everyone knew the plan for January 6th, 2021. They were going to overthrow the election, overthrow democracy, overthrow the country, and install Donald Trump as emperor. That was the plan. They all had it. It was clear as day. It's still the plan, right? It's still the plan. Republicans still want to do this. Republicans still want to overthrow the government and install Donald Trump as dictator. It hasn't changed.
Key Trump officials meet at the Willard Hotel on January 5th to plot their takeover. As white nationalist groups like the Proud Boys and Oath Keepers stand back and stand by.
We'll be inside D.C. We'll also be on the outside D.C.
That guy's in prison now for 20 years.
D.C. armed, prepared to go in if the president calls us up.
On January 6th, Donald Trump tweets out his demands that the fraudulent electors be counted, whips his army of supporters into a frenzy, and lights the match.
So go home. We love you. You're very special.
The coup fails, But Republicans use the chaos they created as pretext to change voting laws across the country.
Republican lawmakers in at least 43 states are considering more than 250 proposed bills that would make it harder to vote.
And instill partisan vote counters who promise to throw away votes they don't like in future elections.
We'll be a lot sharper the next time when it comes to counting the vote. There's a famous statement, sometimes the vote counter is more important than the candidate, and we can't let that ever happen again. They have to get tougher and smarter.
This is a coup in plain sight.
Yep.
History will judge where we stand in this moment.
Yep.
Which side are you on?
It's a good question. What side are you on? Are you with the Americans? Or are you with the Confederates? That's pretty much what it comes down to. We're rehashing the Civil War. Because the Civil War was never resolved. Like, there's that saying that the Confederates lost the war but won the peace. What that means is that Confederates lost the war. They were occupied militarily by the United States. However, they maintained cohesion because the United States did not destroy the power base of the Confederates. The Confederates assassinated Lincoln, and the guy who came after Lincoln, President Johnson, was very sympathetic to the Confederates and let them keep their power base. And essentially, the Confederates reorganized within the United States. And attempted to, and then reinstated their old system with the black laws, the black code, and Jim Crow. So, and since the majority of the country was white supremacy, the Confederates believed they can just, maintain this slow Cold War, because they had enough raw numbers in terms of white people to hold on to power. But now we're coming. Now it's the future. We're in the future, 2024. Now white people are becoming less and less of a majority. That means minorities are getting more and more power. That means if Confederates want to maintain power, they can no longer do so through democracy, because there's just not enough white supremacists anymore to maintain control through democracy. So white supremacist Confederates have to get rid of democracy if they want to hold on to power. They don't have enough numbers. They can't gerrymander themselves forever. They have to get rid of democracy if they want to hold on to power. That's where we're at right now in this moment of history. Confederates know that unless they seize power now, they will never hold on to power again in the United States. So as a last ditch effort for Confederates to maintain power and white supremacy, they have to overthrow democracy in the United States. And it hasn't gone anywhere, right? It hasn't gone anywhere. Donald Trump is still out there walking like a free man. The coup leader is still out there, the main insurrectionist. And he's still out there whipping up a frenzy on people, making them go crazy. And getting them to fight against the United States. So here, let's get a reminder of what it was like that day.
We just had protesters. Peace circle, breach the line. We need backup. Mike Pence didn't have the courage to do what should have been done to protect our country and our Constitution, giving states a chance to certify a corrected set of facts, not the fraudulent or inaccurate ones which they were asked to previously certify. U.S. demands the truth.
These are all insurrectionists trying to overthrow democracy. They want to kill Mike Pence. They want to kill Nancy Pelosi. They want to basically kill Congress so they can install Donald Trump as dictator. They're all Confederates. They're flying American flags, but that's camouflage. They're actually Confederates. These are all Confederates, insurrectionists attempting to overthrow the Constitution.
We can't hold this. We're gonna get too many fucking people. Look at this fucking bandit squad, man. We're fucked.
We're trying to hold the upper deck. We're trying to hold the upper deck down. We need to hold the doors of the Capitol. I need police support. We lost the line. We lost the line. OMPD, pull back. OMPD, pull back up to the upper deck. OMPD, pull back to the upper deck. Multiple capital entries. Multiple capital entries.
Remember, all these people, they're chanting Nancy because they want to kill Nancy Pelosi. They're looking for people to kill.
Officers still remaining on the House floor, on the third floor, to use the subways themselves. It's time to evacuate so we can secure the members on the other side. Copy.
What's up to?
They were peaceful people. These were great people. The crowd was unbelievable. And I mentioned the word love, the love in the air. I've never seen anything like it.
You back up.
I have my cell phone back.
H208 with 4 members. The door's barricade. There's people flooded the hallways outside. We have no way out.
Yeah, January 6th, when Confederates tried to overthrow our Constitution. Man, what would have happened if they would have succeeded? We would be in a civil war. Now, that was close, right? That was pretty close. Can you imagine if the United States had a second civil war? Donald Trump tried to do it. He got real close. I think the insurrectionists were within like 60 yards of Mike Pence. Within 60 yards. Had they gotten Mike Pence and killed Mike Pence, we would be in a civil war. So I think it's important that the United States not only convict Donald Trump, but the United States needs to execute Donald Trump. Donald Trump is too dangerous to be left alive. According to the laws of the United States, Donald Trump should be executed. And it's not like it's a controversial thing for Donald Trump. Donald Trump himself used the death penalty 13 times when he was president. So it's not like Donald Trump has any issues with the death penalty. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. If it's good enough for other people, it's good enough for Donald Trump. So yeah, absolutely the United States should execute Donald Trump. Give Donald Trump the death penalty. I'm not particular how they should do it. I don't care if they hang the guy. I don't care if they use lethal injection. I don't care if they do a firing squad. I don't care. I just think the United States needs to follow its laws and execute Donald Trump. I mean, that was part of the problem with the first Civil War. The United States did not hold accountable the leaders of the Confederacy. And because the leaders of the Confederacy were not held accountable, they regrouped, they got their power back, and now here we are in 2024, and they're back. So I think the United States should not make the same mistake it made the last time. It should execute the leaders of the Confederacy, of the coup. And that includes Donald Trump. So during one point, the mob was just outside the House chambers, where Congress people were huddled in there, and the mob was trying to break in, and that's where Ashley Babbitt got herself killed. So let's listen to that.
These are all your patriots. This is our house. This is our house.
Our house. How do you handle this? Open the door, brother. How do you handle it? Come on, man, open the door.
They're socialist pigs. You're gonna kill patriots. Put this war together.
Handle it.
What's wrong with you? Are you
fucking handle it?
You got kids. You got kids. We got kids. We're fighting for today. America's my son. So you better watch out, boy. They're socialist pigs.
I can't hear what this guy's saying.
Hey, what are y'all saying? Where are your friends? Yeah. Why?
I don't think they're going to gas this.
No, we just got pushed up the front. I've never had a ticket in my life.
Hold on, man.
Ever.
I've never broken.
You want my license number? We're real American citizens. We're sick of this. And we're making it knowing that we're sick of it.
So those are Confederates inside who are trying to break into the Capitol and murder Congress people. They say they're American citizens, but they're Confederates. They're trying to overthrow the Constitution with violence, trying to stop the transfer of power. So these security guards are trying to defend the Congress people who are still inside.
Okay.
30 years.
Would you? Huh?
And I've never had people like this.
Say again.
I've been in law enforcement.
So that guy right there is Representative Troy Niels. He's one of the representatives he's from Texas. That's wearing a Texas mask. Yeah, they're trying to kill him. The mob is trying to kill him. You know, I know they're saying Mike Pence and Nancy Pelosi, but come on, get real. The mob would kill anybody, any member of Congress they can get their hands on. So this is a member of Congress telling the mob that they're terrible people.
For 30 years.
Talk a little louder. That's because you've never seen corruption like we have seen this last month.
I'm ashamed.
And I'm ashamed of my Congress people.
So the congressman is ashamed of the Confederates outside trying to overthrow the government, and the Confederate is ashamed of the congressperson for representing democracy. Do you see how it's just not? You can't reconcile the two. You can't reconcile it. One side wants democracy, and the other side wants ethno-nationalism, fascism, dictatorship. You can't be. We can't be friends. We can't be friends, dudes. We can't be friends. You're gonna try to kill us. Every time you're gonna try to kill us. We can't be friends. You're gonna try to kill us.
They don't even stand up for it.
They're giving away
my grandchildren and your grandchildren's freedom.
What? You need to back up.
Freedom is at hand.
Go find another door, everybody.
Do you understand we're fighting for you?
Yeah, I ought to put the gun.
So it's funny because the white supremacists say that they're fighting for other white people, but they're not. They're not fighting for other white people. Remember, the white supremacists are trying to take away the vote of everyone, minorities and white people. They don't care what you think. They don't care if you're a white person. They're going to take away your vote. Because that's what they are. They're Confederates. They're traitors.
Hands down. We're not going to do anything. You know? That's dumb.
The Constitution.
Breathe. Hey guys, you gotta breathe.
You guys can get the same.
It's funny. The guy said, you're not going to do anything with those guns right before Ashley Babbitt is killed. Ashley Babbitt killed herself. She walked right into a gun that was pointed at her while ignoring commands. Like,
paycheck when the government gets replaced with real governors.
Yeah.
oh, when the government gets replaced with real governors? What does that mean? What does that mean? What are you saying? Are you saying the governors elected by democracy are not legitimate? And that the only legitimate governors are the ones selected by white supremacists? That's exactly what he's saying. That's exactly what he's saying. Because it's literally a coup to overthrow the Constitution. That's what January 6th represents.
Good. This is not going to be good for your future, man. They are fake. It's all fake.
Listen.
This is about fucking this up.
This is about scaring a civil war. If this doesn't happen, there's going to be a bigger civil war.
So this guy is already threatening civil war if they can't overthrow the democracy. He's like, if we can't overthrow democracy and end voting, we're going to start a civil war to stop you from voting. Right? Because they're Confederates. They're Confederates. I mean, like, can I make it any more clear to you? I mean, we're doing slowly stop and analyzing each little bit of information here. And I'm showing you how these people are Confederates. How Donald Trump fully intended to overthrow the Constitution and install himself as dictator.
And a lot of bloodshed. We don't want that. We don't want more bloodshed. Is there anybody in there?
That's bullshit. They want to kill congressmen. In fact, Ashley Babbitt was so filled with blood rage that she literally climbed through a window in order to kill Congress members.
Yeah.
Who's in there? Who's in the house? Can you see who's in there?
No, ma'am. I can't see who's in there.
Oh, look, a socialist. Are you getting paid by China?
So I know it's very popular with Republicans to try and downplay everything that happened, right? Because that's like the modus operandi of fascists. Fascists do the same thing when it comes to the Holocaust. Nazis do the same thing when they try to deny the Holocaust, just like Republicans are going to deny January 6th. I mean, you know you're dealing with a Nazi whenever a person says, "Oh, I don't believe in the Holocaust." Same thing with a Confederate. You know you're dealing with a Confederate traitor if they say, "Oh, I don't know if January 6th was an attempted coup." It's the same thing. So, from the New York Times, of the 1,000+ people that were arrested for their participation in January 6th, the vast majority of them pleaded guilty. A lot of them were convicted. Now, remember I told you how in a federal court case, a prosecutor, the prosecution success rate is something like 98%? Well, that sounds about right. Only 2 people of the 1,000+ people who were arrested for January 6th, only 2 people were acquitted. So if the feds are coming after you, it's probably because you did something bad. Yeah, let's look at the newspapers. The newspapers of that day, of January 6th. Everyone, a Ohio statesman called it an assault on democracy, a sad day for America, total chaos as pro-Trump mob storms U.S. Capitol in effort to overturn America's presidential election. Dozens breach security as lawmakers lock down. Insurrection. Trump incited mob vandalizes U.S. Capitol. Shocked Congress regroups and rejects bid to foil Biden's win. Inevitable. They called it inevitable. Las Vegas Sun says a shameful assault on our democracy. Trump backers storm U.S. Capitol. Trump incites mob. Rampage in Capitol. Forces evacuations. Trump mob storms Capitol. President incites crowds to acts of insurrection, violence. The Wall Street Journal. Mob storms Capitol. Lawmakers reject voiding 2 states' votes after pro-Trump riot disrupts Congress. Trump incited mob storms U.S. Capitol. 4 die, several officers, 1 rioter injured. Congress forced to flee, but electoral college vote count resumes hours later. Disbelief and dismay grip Washington nation. Mob loyal to Trump disrupts Congress during electoral vote certification. Un-American. Attempted coup. Trump loyalists storm Capitol. So the newspapers were pretty clear on the day of the insurrection that it was an insurrection organized by Donald Trump to stop the transfer of power from Donald Trump to Joe Biden. Chris Worrell, this guy is a Proud Boy who went on the run and allegedly faked overdose to evade January 6th sentence for police assault, finds sympathetic judge who ignores prosecutor's recommendation. So that kind of sucks, right? This guy, I think he got 10 years in prison. Or it was recommended that he got 10 years in prison. But yeah, the dude emptied an entire can of mace on the cops. He assaulted police on January 6th. Then, when he tried to escape, he tried to run away. He tried to get a bunch of survival gear and move and go out to the woods to survive, out there. But he made the mistake of going home to get something, and then so he got surrounded by the cops. So when the cops went in and find him, he faked an overdose. He tried to fake an overdose, and ended up going to prison anyways, getting sentenced. I don't know what happened. Maybe he got out of he didn't get the full 10 years. I don't know. I have to go read the story. This is the tweet Donald Trump sent on January 6th. Mike Pence didn't have the courage to do what should have been done. So in other words, he was being told, Donald Trump, call off your mob, call your mob off. They're gonna attack Congress, call them off. And instead of calling off the mob, Donald Trump instructed the mob to kill Mike Pence by singling out Mike Pence. Instead of calming the crowd down, he made them even more crazy with this tweet on purpose. So this is a tweet by Empty Will. So adherents, okay, this passage made me reflect on what the breakdown among Trump adherents are. So among people who support Trump, you have number one, you have cowards who are afraid of his retaliation. There are people who used to say Trump was bad, but then Donald Trump started to send his mob after them, so they got afraid and they changed their tune to support Donald Trump, so Donald Trump wouldn't send their mob after them. Number two, people conned by his grift. There are people who believe the words of Donald Trump. They don't understand that Donald Trump is a liar who will say whatever it takes to get power. So they believe him, and they because they believe his lies and promises, they will be loyal to him in hopes that his words will come true. Then you have the utilitarians who believe he's the only way the Republicans win. They may not like Donald Trump. They may think Donald Trump is a bad guy. But they think Donald Trump is the only way for Republicans to hold on to power. So they will sacrifice American democracy so that Republicans can hold on to power, even if they themselves don't like Donald Trump. And I met a lot of people like this. They're like, oh, we hate Donald Trump, but we're going to vote for him anyways because that's the only way Republicans get power. And then finally, you have people who actually believe in fascism, who are actual fascists, Nazis and white supremacists. They fully understand what Donald Trump is about, and therefore they support him. Those are the 4 types of people that follow Donald Trump. There's nobody else. Nobody else. You're either a coward, you're either conned, a rube, you're either focused on power, or you're a fascist. That's it. That's it. You're a rube, you're afraid, you're a fascist, or you think that Donald Trump is the only way for Republicans to get power. And what was the passage that she was referencing? I should read that. So what was that passage saying? From a certain perspective, the critics who say that talking about fascism takes Trump too seriously are correct. It involves too much hocus pocus. It cloaks him in a certain dark grandeur and gives him everything a Splagnerian gloom that him seems bigger than he is. After all, he's just a crook and a con man, an idiot. But the phoniest, that bombast, and the ridiculousness that was part of the original thing too. There has always been a deeply moronic side to fascism. Fascism is perhaps most fundamentally a moron putting on old world historical errors. Morons trying to make history. What better way to describe January 6th? The second biggest mistake is to take it too seriously. But the first biggest mistake is to not take it seriously enough. Yeah, dude, a lot of those people who went to January 6th were rubes, were stupid. They got tricked by Donald Trump's words and they believed him. And so they were just dumb idiots who globbed onto someone that they liked. That's it. They were just stupid. But a good percentage of them were actual Nazis who actually want to overthrow the government. A good percentage of them are people who are afraid, who would stand up to Trump, but they're afraid that Trump would send his mob after them, so they won't say anything bad about Donald Trump. And some of them are people who believe this is the only way that Republicans can hold on to power. Remember, Republicans are a white supremacist party. They rely on the white supremacist vote in order to hold on to power. But if the number of white supremacists is diminishing because the number of white people is diminishing, not diminishing, but is getting smaller in relation to other minorities, then you can't trust for democracy for an absolute majority of white supremacists to give you power anymore. So in order for you to hold on to power, you have to get rid of democracy. So a big percentage of Trump supporters are people who understand this dynamic, that in order for white supremacists to hold on to power, they have to get rid of democracy. So this week, the big story was the Epstein list that came out. So just to review the Epstein's list, Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein.
Charges that Jeffrey Epstein was running a sex trafficking ring in the early 2000s that included underage girls as young as 14 years old.
Donald Trump in 2002 said of Epstein, he's a lot of fun to be with. It's even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side.
He routinely spoke fawningly of Jeffrey. He admired Epstein's lifestyle.
Your daughter, she's beautiful. Can I say this? A piece of
She's actually always been very voluptuous.
What does Tiffany have of Marla's?
She's got Marla's legs. We don't know whether or not she's got this part yet.
You were playing tennis and you came off the court. Quote, look at that piece of I would love some of that. It so happened that Trump was referring to Cohen's then 15-year-old daughter, Samantha.
I had the impression that he was interested in younger women and that, you know, women would age out for him.
Miss Teen Universe? Yeah, that's like giving Jeffrey Dahmer a cooking show.
I'll go backstage before a show, and everyone's getting dressed and ready and everything else. And I'm allowed to go in because I'm the owner of the pageant, and therefore I'm inspecting it. I standing there with no left.
Donald Trump is heard making questionable comments about a young girl.
You're going up the escalator? I'm going to be dating her in 10 years.
A lawsuit against the presumptive GOP nominee alleges he raped a girl when she was 13 years old.
Prince Andrew answering questions for the first time about his friendship with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
I don't know Prince Andrew, but it's a tough story.
Trump has been photographed with Prince Andrew as far back as the year 2000.
Ghislaine Maxwell is accused of helping Epstein sexually abuse underage girls.
I've met her numerous times over the years, especially since I lived in Palm Beach, and I guess they lived in Palm Beach. But I wish her well.
You know about sexual predators and things like that. I mean,
you are one.
All right, I was going to say that, but it's true.
Yeah, Donald Trump to me, it's the funniest thing to see QAnon, the QAnon people, like totally ignored, like look up to Donald Trump as the savior of children. That's how I know QAnon are a bunch of idiots, because they look at Donald Trump as a savior of children. God, remember in Marion County where I live, a QAnon adherent got the majority of votes to be senator. But a moron got the most votes to be the senator in my county. Which means people look at that moron and be like, that moron reminds me of me. The majority of people in Marion County voted for a fucking QAnon adherent. And the number one guy for the QAnon is himself a pedo. But they can't see it because they love the guy. The majority of people in my district, the majority voted for QAnon. Oh my God. I'm surrounded by morons. Oh, what's this one? Hang people.
Certify those legislators, electors, and we wouldn't be standing here with a 9mm pointed at me right now. Right, isn't he? What? Isn't he going to do that? No! He's going to get back off the stage to recertify, so you know what that's going to mean. The same fucking thing.
Who are you, pal? Who do you think you are, buddy? What's your name? Nice jacket.
Feel the love.
Come on, man, you got kids, right?
You are the lovely.
You got a wife?
We're sick of the shit.
Have you ever lost your paycheck due to some crooked people in the government?
We destroyed millions of lives.
Because I have, man.
That's a fucking joke.
Ever since 2016, man, I've lost $400,000.
We gotta hang a bunch of crooked congressmen. We'll do that.
Dude, ever since 2016, ever since Donald Trump took power, this guy lost money. That's so he's gonna fight to keep Donald Trump in power so he can keep losing money. Do you see like the intelligence of these people? They believe Donald Trump. That's how stupid they are. I can't get over it. Because it's not like it went away. Those people are still here. They're still trying to overthrow the government. They're still trying to take away our democracy. And spit upon the grave of all the veterans who fought for our democracy. That's what they're doing. January 6th statistics. There was 1,265 arrests, 452 charged with assaulting and impeding officers, 332 charged with obstruction, 718 guilty pleas, 171 guilty at trial, 749 sentences handed down. So, after you see, so it's been a long, 3 years since January 6th, right? So more stuff has come out. What's happened since Donald Trump? What happened since January 6th? Well, Donald Trump has been found liable for sexual assault and defamation of Jean Carroll. He basically raped Jean Carroll. He grabbed her by the pussy, literally. He grabbed her by the pussy and then lied about it. And then Jean Carroll took him to court, and the court found him guilty or found him liable, because it's only civil trial. So they found him liable for being a rapist. So that happened. Then in New York, Trump Org was found liable for fraud. So the punishment for that is that Trump Org can no longer exist in New York and no longer do business in New York. On top of it, Donald Trump has to pay like $370 million. But, you know, if he's a billionaire, that should be no problem, right? $370 million, whatever. Like, Elon Musk had to come up with $44 billion to buy Twitter. So I'm sure a measly couple $100 million is not going to destroy Donald Trump. Unless he's really, really poor and he's been lying about his wealth. So we found, and then other people have been found guilty for their role in the January 6th coup. So we've come to find out a lot more about how Donald Trump tried to overthrow the government in the United States, tried to overthrow the Constitution. What do you think that kind of information does to his supporters who find out more and more that Donald Trump is a criminal and a traitor? What do you think that does? It increases their support. Republicans are like, wow, this guy wants to overthrow the Constitution and end democracy in the United States. Oh, we'd like him even more now. Because Republicans are Confederates, right? Republicans are Confederates. They want to overthrow democracy in the United States to maintain white supremacy rule. So Republicans are showing increased loyalty to the former president as he campaigns for re-election and fights criminal charges. They now believe a baseless conspiracy theory that has been promoted by Trump. So Trump has been lying about stuff. He's been saying, oh, voter fraud, voter fraud. Yeah, I lost 62 court cases, but voter fraud anyways. And his followers believe Donald Trump. They don't believe the court. They don't believe reality. They don't believe proof. The only thing they believe is Donald Trump. Because, right, they want to overthrow the Constitution. And Donald Trump is the way they do it. So Republicans are Nazis, is what I'm telling you. Like, it's never changed, right? Republicans are Nazis. It hasn't changed. 3 years later, it's still true. Republicans are Nazis. Here's Romney. Romney, on January 6th, sends his text. In case you have not heard this, I just got a call from Angus King, who said that he had spoken with a senior official at the Pentagon who reports that they are seeing very disturbing social media traffic regarding the protests planned on the 6th. There are calls to burn down your home, Mitch, to smuggle guns into D.C., and to storm the Capitol. I hope that sufficient security plans are in place, but I am concerned that the instigator, the president, is the one who commands the reinforcement the DC and Capitol Police might require. So Mitt Romney knew ahead of time about the plan to overthrow the government on January 6th. And he was complaining to Mitch McConnell that he was worried that Donald Trump was the one who would be the one to call in reinforcements. And Donald Trump wouldn't call reinforcements because he's the one doing the coup. Mitt Romney knew this. Mitt Romney knew this ahead of time. It's weird that Mitt Romney didn't testify under oath about this when he could have. But maybe he's a coward, afraid of the mob that Donald Trump would send after him. In any case, yeah, Donald Trump was the reason why no reinforcements were sent to the Capitol. They had to work around Donald Trump and go to Mike Pence and then really to Nancy Pelosi in order to get reinforcements sent. Because the chain of command was broken when Donald Trump tried to overthrow the government. He's the commander-in-chief responsible for upholding the Constitution, and instead he tried to overthrow the Constitution. Screenshots. Oh shit. No. Anyways, I don't want to do the rest. I got more, but I don't want to talk about it. I want you to understand. I've been doing this show for 5 years. Even though no one watches the show, I've been doing it for 5 years. Before January 6th happened, because I knew what was at stake. I knew what Donald Trump was. I knew Donald Trump was a Nazi. I knew it way ahead of time. And I was trying to tell everyone who would listen that Donald Trump was dangerous. And it was almost too late. On January 6th, he almost succeeded. So I don't know what Democrats are going to do about Joe Biden being a genocider. But I know for sure that the answer isn't Donald Trump, because Donald Trump is literally a Nazi trying to overthrow the government. But I'm not sure what we're going to do, America. I don't know what we're going to do. Joe Biden needs to do an about face on his genocide. Or I don't know what's going to happen. And Donald Trump needs to be executed by the United States for his treason. So the court cases are going to start this year. We have on February 8th, the Supreme Court will hear arguments on whether or not the 14th Amendment applies to Donald Trump. Of course it does. Of course it applies to Donald Trump. Of course it does. So what we're doing, what this is a test of the Supreme Court to see if they're legitimate. I mean, everyone knows they're already questionably legitimate because of the bribery on the court. So already they're not legitimate. So there's plain language in the Constitution that says, yeah, Donald Trump is disqualified. So we're going to see which of the Supreme Court justices are compromised on February 8th when they hear oral arguments about it. Because by all means, by the 14th Amendment, Donald Trump is disqualified for running for any office in the United States. And it's sad that we need the Supreme Court to tell us what we already know. It's so stupid. And then in March comes the DC trial, but that may be delayed because Donald Trump is arguing that he has absolute immunity, that while he is president, he can't be charged with a crime. So what he's saying is that Joe Biden could come in and execute Donald Trump, and that would be okay according to Donald Trump. Because Donald Trump says Joe Biden has absolute immunity. So of course that's not true. Presidents are not absolutely immune. And it's sad that we need the Supreme Court to tell us that. We don't, but but some people need the Supreme Court to tell them that presidents don't have absolute immunity. So Donald Trump can't attempt to overthrow the government, and Joe Biden can't execute Donald Trump just because. Except Joe Biden isn't trying to execute Donald Trump, but Donald Trump is trying to overthrow the government for sure. That's why I say Republicans are bad people. The more they find out about Trump's criminality, the more they have an affinity to him. The more they find out Donald Trump's a criminal, the more they like him. I mean, it'd be way easier for them to move to Russia, because then they would have the government they want without having to overthrow it. They should just move to Russia. I don't know what they're doing here. In fact, Putin offers to expedite citizenship if you volunteer to fight in Russia's army. So Confederates have that's a great opportunity for Confederates. You guys want to shoot guns and you want a fascist government, move to Russia. No, instead I think we're going to have a big kerfluffle here in the United States. So I think the key is before the election to incarcerate Donald Trump, if not execute him. The United States has to apply punishment to Donald Trump before the election, so that the people can vote for someone other than Donald Trump. It'd be a shame if they nominate Donald Trump only for Donald Trump to be kicked off the ballot. Then they have no one to vote for. So the United States needs to get rid of Donald Trump, take care of Donald Trump before the election so that people can still vote for someone. Okay, America. Happy New Year. Welcome to the other side. This year's going to be important. So fasten your seatbelts. All right, until next time. Peace. Pogokiro out. Stop.